Okay, Darren here, bestauto-detailing-tips.com. Short little video. Okay, leather cleaning. My test model is a Lexus SC430. It's an 03. That makes it 11 years old. Now, a couple points I want to make is that if you keep your car up and you do the type of maintenance that it requires from day one, it can be so straightforward and easy. You don't have to overthink anything. You can buy the simplest of products. So one of the things that I drone on about is about leather cleaning. And I got a lot of people that think that like the all-purpose cleaner and the super degreaser are too harsh for the leather, and they have said that it has dried out the leather over time, blah, blah, blah. Well, problem with that is A, I can't verify what anyone says. Just like you can't verify what I say, you just have to have a level of trust to know that I'm talking about. All my tips come from the real world experience of detailing. So I wanted to use this vehicle to demonstrate something, which is leather. I have been taking care of this car, not since day one, granted, but almost day one. It had probably been a couple years old. So it's probably been 8-9 years that I've been taking care of this car. And it's not quite a daily driver. The owner has 2 cars, so she toggles back and forth. But the point I want to make is that this leather, and I'm going to bring you in for a close-up, and I have used nothing but the Meguiar's all-purpose cleaner on this leather. It's never gotten out of hand. It's never gotten excessively dirty. So I've never had to remove an excessive amount of dirt. It's just maintenance. So with that, you're looking at the video and you're looking at the passenger seat. Is there anything that would suggest that that leather is dried out? Now, of course, you can't feel it because you're not here, but there is nothing that suggests this leather's dry or that there's a residue on it. It feels supple, it feels smooth, it feels like day one. Same with the driver's seat. Even this side bolster, which is notorious because people drag their butt across it. Now, if you look really close, there is some permanent wear here where the color is beginning to fade off or come off completely. But that's only when you look at it under a microscope or really close inspection. That was a little hyperbole there. Anyhow, so from normal viewing distance, this leather looks perfect. But something I want to highlight is, once again, this leather feels soft, smooth, and supple. There's nothing that would suggest by looking at it or feeling it that it's dried out or less than it should be. Does it feel and look like conditioned or dressed leather? No, it doesn't. But just because something is different doesn't mean it's good, because good is subjective, which means one man's good is another man's not so good. So since I'm not a fan of overly shiny interiors that to me look cheesy and artificial, I also don't like the thought of having any kind of greasy whatever dressing that's going to now become part of my clothing. So that's why I'm not a big fan of them. It doesn't mean they don't serve a purpose. Sometimes I have to use them to get a uniformed appearance to leather that I've had to deep clean. But what I want to highlight also here is that part of the problem too is that there's just no consistency or very little inconsistency or very much inconsistency with manufacturers. And what I mean by this is that one model of car can be made using leather from one supplier. The very next year, or even during that same model phase, the manufacturer can decide to change suppliers. And therefore the leather, while it may look closely the same, it's provided or being supplied by a different supplier. And then too, the panels themselves can be different. So you can have one panel of leather here that will wear completely different than the middle panel. and so on and so forth. This back section alone has 6 different panels, never mind the headrest. The bottom has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different panels, and that doesn't even include the very side bolster here, which on this car is actually leather. It's not vinyl. So you can add another 8 and 9 because each panel will be different. So the point is that's what's tough, is trying to make comparisons. Is very rarely is it a true apples and apples comparison, because you can use a product on certain surfaces and you think that the leather within this car is all created equal, it all comes from the same cowhide, let's say. Who knows? There's no way you'd ever be able to tell that. All you can do is visually inspect it, see if the color is the same, and even then there will be some slight color variations, but you accept that because it's a quote-unquote natural product, and that would suggest that naturally there's going to be unnatural occurrences or inconsistent occurrences that would be under the classification of natural, being an unnatural product. So it's very frustrating and discouraging as a detailer when you have different materials that will respond differently than what you have come to learn as being normal. There's always these exceptions to the rule, and this leather and this Lexus happens to be one of them. So the main point is that I've used all-purpose cleaner exclusively on this leather. It feels fabulous, it's smooth, it's supple. There's nothing about it that suggests that it's dried out. It's also not overly shiny. It certainly isn't greasy. You're not going to get anything on your clothes. If you want to use a dressing, go for it. If you want to use a conditioner, go for it. In most cases, they're one and the same. Unless you're a chemical engineer or a formulator, there's no way you'd be able to verify it anyways, unless you reverse engineer the actual product, or you read the ingredient or the MSDS list. Anyhow, that's just not part of most of our world. So I just want to highlight that yes, the stuff works. It has never dried out leather for me personally. So for all those that write in and say that it's drying the leather out, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe your dilution ratio is jacked up. Maybe you're using it on some leather that happens to be the exception to the rule. I can guarantee that if it is, that a retail dedicated leather cleaner would have probably produced the same net result. So it, unfortunately, as much as I try to simplify the world of detailing, it ultimately comes down to a case by case. The good news is that 80% of the time things fall within the general rules, and then you've got this 20% window that is a case by case, and it just keeps you guessing and learning. So you can either embrace it, do your best to learn from it for next time, or it's going to send you running with your tail between your legs out of fear and discouragement. It's up to you. Anyhow, just wanted to take a moment while I had a moment, and I thought this was a perfect test model.